Welcome, March 19th, 2024 City Council meeting. We'll start with the prayer. Dear God, today as the session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for the direction which leads our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city to make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Is it me?
Counsel Dakota.
Here.
Counsel Gitchia.
Here.
Counsel Janess.
Here.
Counsel Leahy.
Here.
Counsel Mercia.
Here.
Counsel Noon.
Here.
Counsel Robinson.
Here.
Mayor Rourke.
Here.
Counsel Scott.
Here.
Counsel Yem.
Here.
Counsel Chow.
Here.
11 present.
2, Mayor's Business 2.1, communication remote, Zoom participation, motion to accept and place on file. With a moment of silence. Council Leahy.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to do a moment of silence for Locadia Laura Wilson, devoted mother, grandmother, great-grandmother. Laura Wojcik Wilson, 90, of Lowell, passed away peacefully on Friday, March 15th, surrounded by her loving family. She was the beloved wife of the late William J. Wilson, who died in 2020. She's also the mother of Laurie Wilson, who's employed by the city of Lowell as a school nurse. Laura was born Lowell, Mass, May 2nd, 1933. Daughter of the late Joseph and late Alexandria Wojcik. She attended Lowell schools, was a graduate of Lowell High, class of 1950. She is survived by her 3 children, Laura M. Quay, her husband Pierre of North End, Boston, William Wilson, his fiancee Allison Caffrey of Pepperell, and Leanne Wilson of Lowell. They have 8 grandchildren and great-grandchildren. She'll be greatly missed. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, Doctor of the Chamber. Mr. Rest in peace. (2.1) Communication remote Zoom participation. The motion to accept and place on file by Council Chow, second by Council Dakota. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Passes. City Clerk 3.1 minutes of the Veterans Subcommittee, March 12th. City Council regular meeting on March 12th as well. And motion to accept and place on file by Council Gitchia, second by Council Janess. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
This now, or until 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock, get away.
Okay, we'll move on to Section 5, City Council motions. 5.1, Council Gitchia requests City Manager have the proper department report on the status of the elevator in the Poland Library. Second by Council Mercia. Council Gitchia.
Thank you, Mayor Rourke. And maybe this is something that the manager could do right now if he knows the status of the library elevator, and then we won't need a real report. But it's just something that when you go over there, it's out of order, and then there are days back and forth. If you could just give us some sort of update so we know where we're going. Or unless you want to wait, I can wait. All right.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Council, we do have that update, and technical difficulties here. I don't want to get the dates wrong on it, so we'll just be able to get that back to you, or even this evening. Apologies.
Thank you.
Council Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thank Councilor Gitchia for bringing it up. This is an ongoing problem. I know that the city has been, fixing it, and sometimes it need part, and now it's, sometimes not working, sometimes not, sometimes working. So maybe just check to make sure that maybe we do need a new one. So just see what is the cost for it. That way we don't spend, money on top of stuff that we can't do more if we keep on breaking like that. Thank you.
Council Leahy.
Thank you. Not to steal your thunder, Mr. Manager, but basically they're waiting for a cable, and it's under contract with an outside company. So It's not really something that in-house is doing, and we're waiting on it. Actually is, I think it's Otis, and we're just waiting for cable and parts, and they should be in hopefully soon. Thank you.
Council Getchia?
Thank you, Mayor Rook. And I don't disagree with that report. The question comes down to, what is the replacement of this elevator? You know, when are we going to get to replacing it? It has aged, it's met its life expectancy. So in the parts, as we're seeing, are basically obsolete. So that's really what I was asking for in addition to is, you know, is there a replacement process in our capital plan for it?
Mr. Machado?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Finally fought through the technical difficulties, but the replacement is starting next month. The design for the City Hall elevators are still underway, but for the library, it'll be starting next month.
So it is a replacement, not a cable, right? That's what I thought we went to, is a replacement, not a cable. So we are replacing the whole thing, shaft up. We're leaving the shaft, replacing the guts.
Exactly. Yep.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Oh, sorry, Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. About 3 or 4 years ago, I made this very same motion, and I hope it wasn't out of commission all that time. Was it fixed and then it broke again? Because if that's the case, then it should be really replaced, right? Go ahead.
Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Yes, Councilor, that's been up and down,
Oh,
literally
yes,
and figuratively.
yes.
It really wasn't meant to be a joke. I apologize. I meant it's been working and not working. So that's been a real challenge, but that's why we went with the, the complete replacement, and that's what's been taking the time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.2, Councilor Getchia requests city manager reach out to the Lowell Housing Authority and repair the street light on the corner of Faulkner and Lawrence Street. Seconded by Councilor Dakota. Councilor Getchia?
Thank you, Mayor Rourke. Again, through you to the manager. Mr. Manager, this has gone back and forth. I've spoken to the assistant city manager on this one, and then we sent the city out. The city told us that it wasn't theirs. It was the housing authority's light, and the housing authority would be out to fix it. The residents have called the housing authority. They tried to reach out. No responses are coming through. It's extremely dark. It's elderly over there, and the fire department's over there. If there's any way that you could use your resources and call them and get that fixed.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, I did reach out to the Housing Authority prior to this meeting, and I'll be able to report back when it's completed in the coming week.
If it's completed, I don't really need a report because I'm sure the resident's going to call me right when it's on. So if it's completed, it's good by me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.3, Councilor Noon. Councilor Getchia requests city manager work with City Bonds LLC to negotiate terms regarding transfer of ownership or a continuation of the lease for the senior center. Include in negotiations improvements to scheduled maintenance of the building, maintaining the land, upgrading walkways and lots as part of any potential successor lease agreement or before transfer of ownership. Updates of negotiations to be provided to council in executive session. Councilor Noon?
It's very detailed, isn't it, Mr. Mayor? So
well
I think that should be discussed at the executive session. I have a lot to ask, a lot of question, a lot of comment, and so let's have that discussion there when we get the report.
Councilor Getchia?
Yeah, and I echo those. Could we put this on next week's agenda for executive session so that we could just go over like an outline of it, if it's possible?
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Councilor, we definitely could, but we may not have all the information from the other party at that time. In regards to, there's an issue with some of the condo docs. So I'm not sure that we have that yet. Yeah, they are not ready yet.
I think
So-
some things may be too detailed for us at this point.
Okay.
I think an executive session just to see where all of us lie and what information we have about, the maintenance of the building and stuff like that, and then that may be something that just might be too much for us right now.
Okay.
But I would defer to the rest of the council if they would like to just get in there and let's see what we're going to outline going in, and then what we come out with. That would be a good discussion just to have a preliminary,
That could
if that's okay with you.
That could be completed, absolutely, for next Tuesday.
All right, thank you.
Councilor Dakota?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Do we have a timetable on when we would have all this information?
Mr. Manager?
Mr. Mayor, through you to the council, that's a work in progress. We could get it tomorrow. I just don't have that information yet. But definitely by next Tuesday, we can have that meeting to discuss what the wishes of the council are in regards to doing this. And some of the reasoning, we can have that discussion as well, if that's okay, Councilor.
Thank you.
Councilor Robinson?
Thank you. Yeah, I think this is a great motion, and I think the purpose of the executive session would be more so the administration can get some of the concerns we have before you even begin negotiations, and then that way, it's going to take some time to get the answers and responses with the report, but going into negotiations, at least, you're well-versed in what some of the concerns we have are.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.4, Council Leahy, request city manager work with the Property Department, Mass DOT, the town of Tewksbury to improve safety at the intersection of River Road and Andover Street.
Second.
Second by Council Noon.
There's a registered speaker, Mr.
Go, Mr. Gordon.
Steve Gendron.
I just wanted to talk quickly about the merge of the two lanes heading from Tewksbury into Lowell. The merge it starts right after Burnham, heads up through Weatherby, and extends up to Holbrook at times. I believe this is a poor design for this merge, and it's at times during the day pretty unsafe. As the flow of traffic continues through the intersection up to the merge is sudden, it's abrupt, and it's not obvious. Cars are running up on each other and, just narrowly missing accidents almost every single day at rush hour. It also opens the door for reckless driving. As cars get a green light, it's almost like they're racing to the intersection, racing through the intersection to the merge. And so, I think that we need to address it. And then there's the obvious problem of pedestrians. And, we're cutting into the bike lanes on the side of the roads, and anybody that's tried to cross the roads and cross the street in that part of Andover Street during high traffic times knows that it's nearly impossible now because of the merge. So anyways, if I were to offer maybe what I think would be a simple solution to this, as you're approaching the intersection there from Tewksbury going into Lowell, there's two lanes. I feel like it'd be really easy to make the right lane a right turn only lane up River Road, so you can easily turn right onto River Road or easily access the Mobile and Dunkin' Donuts on the right there. And then the middle lane should just be a single lane heading up into a single lane up into Lowell, up Andover Street. So I think, the result of all the construction that happened at the Andover Street and River Road intersection really kind of, it changed a lot of the dynamics of that area on Andover Street, and in my opinion made it more unsafe and, made some unnecessary changes to the road outline. So that's my take. Thank you.
Zone, Tewksbury, right, Mr. Manager?
Yes, yes, Mr. Mayor, it is in Tewksbury, but coming into Lowell, we'll reach out to Mass DOT, considering they did the all of the work in that area, and see if they can possibly rectify it if they have a reason for that. If that would be okay with the council?
Thank you. Yes, it just, it's very different now with that. And I know that the lights are in Tewksbury, but it leads into Lowell. And I'm very concerned about school committee man Dave Conway and my counselor Rita Mercier for them getting home for their safety, as well as other Lowellians. So if we could have that addressed and try to figure out a solution to really slow the traffic down, because it's more difficult to cross the street there if you're a pedestrian, and it's a little bit dangerous turning into Burnham Road or pulling out. So if we can take a look at that, appreciate it. Thank you.
You can get Councilor Leahy a schedule of the Tewksbury select meetings, Mr. Manager. Councilor Dakota?
Thank you. Well, we're all concerned with Councilor Leahy's safety. Mr. Jonan brings up a very good point, but just to be clear, Mr. Manager, this is Tewksbury's responsibility and none of Lowell's. But we are going to get Mass DOT involved.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Through to the council. Council, I believe that when that was all redone, Mass DOT had the ball on this. So my thought process would be they would understand why they left it as both straightaways as opposed to right off.
Yep.
And just asking Mr. Stedman from Mass DOT, who is, I really think, everyone knows him, to find out what the reasoning behind those two lanes are. I'm pretty confident we'll get at least an answer from them.
Thank you.
Councilor Gitcha?
Thank you, Mayor Rook. Through you to the manager. Mr. Manager, could we have our traffic engineer go out there for a couple times and just analyze it so we have a good outline to send to Mass DOT rather than just our word, and then have actual function over there? Because just because something bottlenecks into our city from another community doesn't mean that it's safe. And that's really what the question comes down to, is how safe is this? And if we do send over our traffic engineer who has the ability to do this and the qualifications to actually write something that would be professional to them, we can have a better conversation than just the council sending something over and saying, hey, can you just do this? I think that if we can get that report to us and then we say okay to go there, I think it makes a lot more sense than just have us write a letter over there.
Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Everything that Mr. Genron and Councilor Leahy said is absolutely true, and I thank them for looking out for my safety. I travel that way quite a bit, and to weigh in on property that seems to be in Tewksbury, well, when MassDOT came to the city, they used Dancause Road and Burnham Road to store all their equipment. So it's a partnership, and so I think they understand that. It's about the safety, and that's a good point, too, which I was thinking as well, to have our traffic engineer weigh in on it as well. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the council. Council, is if it's the wish of the council, I can connect Mr. Stedman and Ms. Altman together. We can have a quick discussion and try to figure this out.
Sure.
If that's the wish of the council.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.5, Councilor Robinson requests city manager explore the feasibility of creating a $1 home program with city-owned properties to increase generational wealth building opportunities. Seconded by Councilor Yem. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. I know we're always looking at increasing housing inventory. I think my colleagues put a motion on last week requesting an updated inventory of properties that the city might be owning. I know that since Attorney McKenna and company have been actively working on moving on a lot of real estate situations that we have within the community. A dollar home program, they implemented something like this in Newark, New Jersey. It basically, they have a partnership with an organization called the Neighborhood Assistance Corp of America, or NACA. What they do is they're very lenient on credit scores. They don't require a down payment or closing costs or fees. And what NACA and what they're the funding stream. So what's required in the program would be on these city-owned parcels or properties. For example, two-family that might need $300,000 in work to get it up to code. Residents, and they target low to middle income for residents, they would be required to go through a homeownership training program, get pre-approved for a low-interest fixed-rate loan for that $300,000 or whatever it may be for the renovations of this property that the city's in possession of. We run a lottery for $1. And what that does is, I think it kind of has multiple benefits. I think it allows some of our residents that might not otherwise have been approved for a loan through a conventional method to have access to an opportunity to be a homeowner. Some of the requirements vary on the programs, but it addresses neighborhood blight. As I mentioned, opportunities for home ownership through non-traditional paths. I think it targets low to moderate income residents. It helps curtail the absentee landlords and can assist in providing lower rents, because that can be something that could be required because the person is grabbing the property for way below market rate or whatever we'd sell at auction. Some of the requirements would be home buyer training required, must live in the home for 10 years. If violated, the city would reclaim the property and provide it to the next in the lottery that had suitable funding and the certification. And again, as I mentioned, it can lower rents because we can request as part of the deal 10% reduction in rent, because pretty much the loan is only covering the renovation portion of the property. They're getting it from the city for $1, but then that brings those properties back on the tax roll for the city, and it provides home ownership, which we all know in the neighborhoods. You get to see a kind of a stronger sense of pride. It seems like people tend to take care of their properties a lot better when it's owner occupied. So I think that's something that we could explore in the city, and hopefully we have some great organizations in our backyard, like MVHP, for example, that do similar training. As far as the funding stream goes, that's something I hope we have some partners, if not NACA, some other local partners that might be willing to work with us. So, thank you.
Councilor Yam?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the motion. It's a great motion. HUD also has a $1 program that will help property who are not able to sell. Then after 6 months of listing the property, HUD then would sell the property for $1. The only issue with HUD $1 program is that we are in a really hot real estate market. That are not a lot of property that will be sit on the market more than 2 weeks. So HUD $1 program is for homes that been on the market for 6 months and no takers. So then HUD turn around and sell it to a local entity and first-time home buyer for $1. So that's a good program. Councillor Robinson mentioned about NACA, an excellent national organization who help first-time home buyer with training and down payment assistance. In addition, NACA also help family who are in trouble paying their mortgage. NACA help them to restructure the loan. So it's a great program, and hopefully the city can take advantage and look at how we can utilize the $1 program to help family to build generational wealth. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.6, Councilor Robinson requests city manager have the proper department explore the feasibility of creating commercial to residential conversion incentive program to increase housing stock. Seconded by Councilor Young. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. I think one thing that the pandemic has shown a lot of communities is that the demand for commercial space, workspace, has lessened significantly. I think larger companies are realizing that people can work remote. As a result, in some instances, we have a lot of commercial space that's sitting empty. I think this incentive program, and this is something they're doing in larger cities as well. I believe DC, Boston's looking at it right now. And it's incentivizing landlords that might be sitting on a vacant commercial or mostly empty commercial property. And if they're willing to consider converting into residential homes, with even if it's mixed use, even if it's retail with some commercial, and then in DC, for example, they're providing multi-year tax abatement for these property owners. They must yield a minimum of X amount of housing units over the course of the abatement period in order to be in compliance. 10% of the housing units created must be affordable to families earning 80% of the median income. I mean, there's different ways that we could structure an incentive program to see if there's appetite out there for these property owners that are sitting on large commercial properties that are mostly vacant as a result of the pandemic and the demand. So I think this is another area that we've all discussed, increase in housing inventory, and I think we need all types of housing, market rate, affordable, subsidized, you name it. It's a balance. And so I think if we can incentivize anybody to create more, it's worth a shot. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5.7, Councilor Yem requests city manager have the appropriate department provide a structural engineer report on the Smith Baker Center.
Second.
Council. Seconded by Councilor Mercia. Mr. Clerk.
There are registered speakers. Dennis McCarthy.
Good evening, council members. My name is Dennis McCarthy, and I live at 216 Foster Street in the Tyler Park Historic District in a home built in 1892, which wasn't even built when our Smith Baker Center was completed. Thank you, City Mayor, City Manager, City Councilors for granting me this privilege to speak. I have heard from others, unfortunately, quote, unfortunately, I don't think the Smith Baker will be saved unless there is a significant groundswell or campaign or historic preservation enthusiasts or an interested private party that would work proactively with the city for grants and incentives. I only wish I could say I am that private party with my deep pockets riding in tonight on my white horse to save our building, once known as Lowell's Cathedral. In speaking with people, it appears that the council has made it clear that they wish to demolish the building. I understand as it is a risk, or it has a risk, and they don't want to absorb that risk. But what is the risk? Do we know the condition of the building? There is a red X. What does the red X mean? When a fire official puts a red X on a building, is he or she determining any structural deficiencies? As I understand it, the red X simply tells the firefighters that if there is a building fire, they should fight it without going inside the building, as it is unsafe the way they see it. Fire officials may make judgments, but it's the role of a structural engineer to determine the building's integrity. Do we have a structural report from anyone? I asked CBA, the last interested party in our building, and they told me that they were not aware of one. I asked the city, and they told me that CBA must have one. If a developer of the site is a for-profit company, the city could be spending the building's assessed value from our city website of $1,634,700, $1,634,700 as of 2024 to satisfy our obligation to HUD, and then spending another $1 million or so to remove the hazardous material abatement and demolish the structure and foundations. Is this what we need to do? I just have to ask why, and why we can't just do some roof maintenance, maybe to the tune of $12,000 to fix the roof slates, since I was told by the city that it's the roof slates that pose the danger with falling material. I just have to ask why we can't get a structural engineer to tell us what is wrong with the building roof and walls so that we can make repairs. Fixing roof slates and making repairs might be an option to consider, but we simply don't know what we need to do without a report. A fellow architect and I...
Ms. McCarthy, please wrap it up at 5 minutes, sir.
I'm sorry. The city has already made changes to the zoning for the building. As of October, just 5 months ago, the council have decided that by right, this site can be developed for housing up to 7 stories, which then could support a new 80 by 120 foot footprint and 70 feet high with 84 housing units. Just 5 months ago,
Mr. Mayor.
you, the council, also approved.
Can I suspend the rules so he can finish in a time frame that we can actually...
You were beating me, you're talking fast.
So he doesn't have to
McCarthy. I know.
speed up.
Yeah,
So he doesn't have to speed up.
Take your time, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Councilor Kitcher. I'd like to just go back. If the envelope can't be saved based on the report, it could be used, the engineering report could be used to lower the building's assessed value, and making the payout to HUD, if needed, a smaller amount. And if the report tells us that the walls are intact and the roof structure is solid, that would give us confidence that the building might be repurposed. The report could also tell us that what short-term repairs should be done to keep the envelope from any further deterioration. With that information, we could then make the necessary cost analysis for a thoughtful decision. Maybe then we could work to secure grant funding and put together tax incentives that would become part of a more informed RFP. As we develop a plan, we could ask the Housing Authority, CTI, CBA organizations, developers like Nick Saris and George Barakis, or Brian McGowan and Ryan Rourke and other developers, if something else is needed in the RFP and how we can get to a successful project. This is only a step to authorize the structural envelope report, and yes, it will take a year or so to complete the funding process, but if some meaningful short-term building improvements can save this building while we take this journey and try to preserve the structure, isn't it worth our time? As I started to say, the building, we now have, as of October, 5 months ago, decided that we can build by right 7 stories high, up to 84 housing units on the site. Just 5 months ago, the council also approved a no minimum parking restriction for housing on the site, releasing the past impediment to seeing this building repurposed. However, my dream would be to keep, this is my last page, sorry. However, my dream would be to keep this beautiful building envelope and build housing within its walls that might result in 40 to 60 units. This would not be unlike the repurposed Sacred Heart Church on Moore Street or the current repurposing of the St. Louis School and Church. But unlike those projects, this structure is in a more prominent location at the heart of our historic city. The RFP from 2019 states that this building is historic. It states that it is located in the downtown Lowell Historic District and is also listed on the national and state registers of historic places by virtue of its inclusion in the Lowell National Historic Park and Preservation District and the City Hall Historic District. One would think that the removal of such a special building would have some risk for our Lowell National Park. But it seems that once upon a time, we took great care to ensure that this building would be preserved. I just want to finish with a plea to not send us down the path to demolish this historic building without, in my opinion, a complete picture as to why it must be demolished. Please support Councilor Yem's motion to seek a spring 2024 building envelope only structural report to determine the risk of any danger to the public, but most of all to determine if our Lowell Cathedral can be saved. Thank you for all your efforts and patience with this process. And I especially want to thank all the wonderful, considerate members of our city team that gave me their time to help me understand why we are at this crossroads. Thank you.
Michaela Hondros McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to the City Council for the opportunity to speak. My name is Michaela Hondros McCarthy, and I live at 618 Stevens Street. I'd like to speak in favor of Councilor Yem's motion to have the city provide a structural engineering report of the Smith-Baker Center before moving forward with any other plans. I have 4 points. We haven't done a thorough analysis and should not make assumptions on the structural integrity of this building without doing the due diligence that it deserves. The Smith-Baker debate has been going on for quite some time, and I don't believe a structural assessment was either conducted or been made public record unless I'm mistaken. It is an irreversible decision that shouldn't be made without all the facts. Number 2, these buildings are made to last even when they aren't maintained properly for decades. Just look at all the rehab mill buildings converted to office space, museums, and housing after being left vacant for many years. They just don't make them like they used to. Number 3, preserving historic buildings is a big part of what sets Lowell apart. It's what makes Lowell and other major cities, destination cities, and attracts tourists from all over. I was looking at the pictures of the inside of it, which I really haven't looked at until recently. I've never been inside it, and I thought, oh my gosh, this looks just like that famous Ryman Auditorium in Nashville. I don't need to tell you all, since you are here in this area a lot, but this is a very visible building that sits at the end of a major street across from the library and City Hall. It is accessible to many by foot and by public transit. The future of a vibrant downtown would be enhanced if we can take historic assets like this one and rehab them into something that we can all enjoy well into the future. And lastly, there is potential for multiple uses. We have some flexibility. We could use them for cooling centers, which help our resilience as a city for residents, a performance arts center, a community space, housing, or a combination of all of those things. Thank you.
Carmack McCarthy.
Hi, everyone. Cormac Hondros McCarthy here. I live at 12 West Albert Street in Lowell, Mass, and have 2 young children, which I'm raising in the city. I believe it's important for us to look at tearing down this building from the perspective of what future generations might like to see the city look like. I understand there is a process that isn't immediate with restoring this historic building, but we should absolutely put in the necessary effort to see if it is possible to preserve it, as it is situated in prime real estate area in the city and has high visibility. Again, we need to try our best to make decisions for the future of Lowell. Having beautiful old buildings in the city's center adds to the integrity of the city, and we should do our best to keep the assets we do have versus give them up without significant effort. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Yem?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I want to thank all the speakers who came out and expressed their support. And for me, it is important to preserve such a historical, beautiful building. Every time I stand in front of the building, I look at how majestic the building is. I personally live in a 100-year-old home with stained glass windows, and I did what I have resource to restore that because it was built, well built, and the same thing with Smith Baker Center. It's built such a great building. No building like this is being built in anywhere. The only I request the city to spend some money to do a structural engineer study to see how safe it is. Even down the road, we may end up, take down the building, but at least it's for safety to those who will be working on the building to be sure that they are safe, they're structurally safe and all of that. So my request is that at least the city spend some money to do the structural study to make sure that the safety of the building and those who will be working in the building. Thank you again for all the speaker who comes and is to save the building. Thank you.
Councilor Janess and Councilor Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to my colleague for bringing this motion forward, and thank you to the speakers who came down and spoke on behalf of this building. We've been talking about this building for quite a while, and I really think that including a structural analysis as part of the plan that we asked you, Mr. Manager, to put forward for us is an important step. I think it's basically a rounding error in the cost to have someone take a look at the building and for us to really understand what it is we're looking at. These conversations we've been having, I've been told the building's falling apart, the building is a hazard, et cetera, but I haven't seen any concrete proof of what that means. So I think having a structural analysis done so we can truly understand the state of the building and what our options are moving forward would be an important part of that plan we were asking you to create. So I would full support of this motion, and please include it as part of the action plan that you're going to be developing for us. Thank you.
Councilor Robinson.
Can I please suspend the rules to allow one more speaker to speak on this motion?
Motion by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Mercia. All those in favor say aye.
I'm not related to those people, but I am actually. I am. My name's I do. My name's Angela Hondras McCarthy. Came as a team. Oh, sorry. I did not prepare this letter. I live at 216 Foster Street in Lowell, Mass. I was asked to read this letter that was written by Brad McGowan, who's a condo owner at 127 Hildreth Street. He states, I strongly urge the City Council to support Councilor Yem's motion to ask the City Manager to have the appropriate department provide a structural engineer's report on the Smith Baker Center to the City Council. This report is crucial for making informed decisions about the future of this building. We have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to transform the Smith Baker Center into a vibrant and mixed-use facility, which could include housing, arts and cultural centers, exhibit spaces, and countless other uses. The Smith-Baker Center would have a national and regional significance and fulfill many local needs while maintaining a beautiful and historic building district, building in a historic district of a historic city. It is a significant part of what makes Lowell, Lowell. Without buildings like this, we look like every other small city and not the incredible city that it was and is, and with our help will continue to be. Demolition is forever, and a decision like this should only be made with all of the facts and all of the opinions studied and discussed. I hope that we can work together on this important project that will have countless benefits for our city. Thank you for your consideration of my opinion on this matter. And on a personal note, I graduated from the Hellenic American School many, many, many years ago. I'm not going to say when, elementary school. And we held our graduation there. We held our graduation there, and I remember it to be a beautiful, and I've been in
It was just a few years ago, right, Mr. McCarthy? Just a few years ago, yes.
And I've been in the space certainly since then, and it is a beautiful building. Very much appreciated, and just looking at it from the outside, to me it looks fine, but you know, I'm no structural engineer. So thank you for the time. Thank you.
Before we go to Council Mercia, are there any other members of the McCarthy family wishing to speak on this? She can zoom in. All right, no problem. All right. Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager, Mr. Manager, has there ever been a report done on the condition, the physical structure of the Smith-Baker Center building?
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the council. Council, this was a facility condition assessment, which I would not say isn't appropriate to what we're asking for.
Right.
The facility condition assessment was done back 4 years ago, back in 6 years ago, back in 2018. And that, having read through that, that doesn't tell me an awful lot about the actual structure of it. So the answer would be no.
So that's why I firmly believe in this motion that we do need a report to decide from a professional, do we have structural deficiencies? Is the structure sound? Because I would hate to take a building of that magnitude down if it was strong. I know that it entails a lot of work inside. I know that the roof slates or whatever's falling down needs to be repaired. I know that they need to have a guard because I did a snow guard, which one day I was walking from my car to come to City Hall, and I did see snow mixed with ice fall on a woman, and I thought that she was dead. We all ran over to save her. An ambulance was called. I think she survived it, but it was frightening. I know that last week we thought, well, I don't say we, but there was a lot of talk of that, let's just demolish it. But we gave you some time. I did. I voted to allow some time because I believed you, Mr. Manager, that you would investigate and try to see what you could do. So this is what we're asking you to do, that we need a structural report as to how strong is that building. It might surprise us and say, this building is very strong. And when I hear years ago that it would be $6 million to take care of and bring that structure back to the beauty that it once was and the vibrancy, now it's $20 million. I want to know, what exactly are we talking about? And I don't know that, so I would like to know. I think if we could pinpoint and put together some sort of a report, a development package that can sustain the building and know what exactly are we looking for money that would cost to do the painting, to remove the asbestos, to do the windows, to do all these things, then I think we could have developers like this Dennis McCarthy said to give their input and put their money where it's needed to make apartments or whatever needs to be done. The speakers spoke so eloquently, and I feel that they made their point. And if we did, let's say, put housing there, and we reached out to many developers, I'm sure someone would be willing to invest in the much-needed housing, and HUD would forgive the money that the $85,000, because we're doing what the intention would be that they would understand. So I think there's a good possibility that we talk about housing, and that's a good spot for housing. And today's a different world where people travel by bus or by bike, or so many things that they do that we're probably not aware of it because we're set in our ways and we get in a car and we take off. But there's many people that travel by train or by bus, or so those are the people that probably are looking for that key location. That's quite a location, a central location to everything that they possibly need. So I support the motion. I think that from what I heard from a professional that knows what they're talking about, that we could get an inspection done for about $10,000. That's not really going to break the bank. So if you talk to the developers, they could probably give us more information. That was a very good report that the speakers let us hear. Thank you.
Councilor Gitcher, Robinson, and then Dakota. Councilor Gitcher.
Thank you, Mayor Rourke. A couple of things the speakers said. There are known hazards. Well, there are known hazards. That's why we have an X on the building. That's why the spaces are blocked off. So there are known hazards. Who did the report? I don't know that answer. But, you know, when we look at this risk, the risk will only get worse. It's not getting better as time goes by. You look up at the stained glass, the wooden frame around it is rotted. It's pretty clear, you can see up there. Structural engineer at $10,000, you certainly probably could get one for $10,000, but how in-depth is that report going to be? That's the question. That range is $10,000 and up. It's not going to be something small. And I'm not against it, because a few weeks ago when this discussion first started, I asked that question. Did we have a structural engineer look at it? And we said it had been looked at. But it hadn't been looked at. So I don't disagree with having somebody look at the building. But the fact here is simple. This city can't afford this. So we have to spend money to get rid of it for $1, because it's not gonna generate any money, even to pay back the cost. And when someone says it's gonna cost $1 million to take down the building with the hazardous waste in it, I would debate that number, because I had spoken to a demolition contractor who is under $400,000 to take it down, and I don't know what the mitigation would be with the hazardous waste within it, but I'm sure it's not more than taking it down, but it could be. I'm not against the building at all. It's like the ballpark. There's nobody in here who loves the ballpark more than I do. I'm a baseball person. But at the end of the day, you have to make financial decisions in the best interest of this city. And there is no way the city can do anything with that building. We can't afford the buildings we have to take care of. And it was the same thing with the ballpark. We had to make a tough decision, and we did. We made the decision in the best interest of the city. And it's the same thing over there. When we talk about the interior, and one of the speakers is not wrong when they say it's a beautiful interior. But if we're going to change it to condos or apartments, it's not going to be the same beautiful interior. We're just basically keeping the shell, which I'm okay with too. But we also looked at parking was talked about. Oh, don't worry about it. There's no parking restrictions. Mr. Manager, we all can live in Fantasy Island and think people are going to take their bikes and they're going to, you know, take the new trolley system we're going to put down there, and everyone's going to do that. But everybody knows the requirement is at least one car for each apartment, and now you get 2 parking spaces. So if you have 40 to 60 units, you're going to have 80 to 120 cars. And no one's going to walk down to Market Street. You go right over to the employees' parking lot, and you got people from the Housing Authority parking over there overnight. So there are manageable differences in, again, I have no problem with looking at the structural integrity. If you can save a building like that, why not? But if you're looking at apartment buildings, you're going to have to do something over there, like knock down the building next door, the school department building that we actually use, and make parking over there, because there's no way you can have a building like that with apartments without taking another property and making it so that you'll have parking. So those are things that are not feasible to us. And of course, someone else wants you to pay for the structural study. Why wouldn't you? But, we don't have money. And does anybody have secure grants for any of the stuff we're talking about? We talked the other day, they said $100,000, and we could only get 50% of that, so we get 50 grand. I don't know what that can do over there, but maybe it can do a lot. I don't know. But right now, it's a tough decision on the city. I don't see a problem with doing a structural, but I would like to know the cost before I start getting into that, because 10 grand is just a number thrown out there, and it depends on how in-depth you want that study to be. So I think the council should understand the cost before we get to it. And what is the time frame we're looking at on this building? That's the question. We need housing in this city more than anything, and it would be nice to see it, but, again, we need rate housing. And, people have to have disposable income to support our businesses in this city, so we have to do something with it. And I don't disagree. It is a beautiful building. It has a lot of memories for a lot of people. But at the end of the day, can the city afford to take this on? And if it can't, then we need to go to an RFP currently and go out and say, okay, is there someone out there willing to do this with a structural study that says the integrity of the building is good? Thank you.
Councilor Robinson?
Thank you. I think there's been some great points raised in this discussion, and I agree with a lot of them. I think a building like this, as we're all aware, it is a piece of Lowell's character. It is something that visitors and residents walk by, drive by, and it does scream what the city has to offer. Couple concerns I have myself is, I think a structural report or study based on the price, it's a reasonable request, but I'd like to see the cost, because, we don't just want someone to come with a camera and kick a couple walls and say, yeah, it looks okay. If we're going to do it, I think we need like almost a forensic level study to see, because the question then becomes, once we get this report back, what are we on the hook just to prioritize the safety aspects? If they turn around and say A, B, and C is wrong, and you have to take immediate action, there's another cost associated with that. And now, after we get a study done, we're all aware of any structural problems. So now we are pretty much required to move on that once we're notified that we have these issues. And what does it do for the time frame? With the roof leaking for as long as it has been, obviously, I haven't been in that building in 15 or 20 years. I can only imagine with the amount of weather that's gotten inside the building, what the inside structure looks like. But I think our priorities need to be, as a city, where are we with the safety? How long is it going to take us to even figure out what's safe or what is unsafe? Because that time in between is what we're dealing with now, the at-risk time. And then, again, I repeat, once we are alerted to what's not safe structurally, if there's anything, it's our responsibility to take action at that, because if not, technically, I think that could fall into negligence at that point, because we have a forensic study saying this building is structurally deficit, which I hope it isn't, but in reality, you can see the brick needs to be repointed, and that's just visual, and I'm nowhere near an inspector. So my biggest concern is, what's the time frame for? If we go out and get someone to come in and give us a detailed report, how much time does that add to this process? Because even with that report in hand, we don't have developers knocking on our door to say, hey, I want that building. So that's another component of this. But if we're looking to really get a full overall picture of where we are with this building before we make a gloom or doom decision on it, I can support that based on what's the in-between time. How long till we have that report in hand? And then we need a game plan once we get that report back. Thank you.
Councilor Dakota?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll preface my remarks by saying that I have spoken with Mr. McCarthy on numerous occasions, and I have the utmost respect for what he's trying to do here. I'm going to echo a lot of the sentiments of my colleagues, is that what level of structural analysis are we looking here? This has got to be a full-blown analysis of what this is going to cost. To me, when somebody says $10,000 to see if this building is structurally sound, I'm laughing in their face. This is not a $10,000 project analysis. We need somebody to go in there and right from the bottom to the top to tell us exactly how much this is going to cost, which the city is going to incur. What is, I guess if through you, Mr. Mayor, to Assistant City Manager Baez, how long would an analysis take, ballpark, on what something like this would take to get done?
Thanks. So depending on how intensive a scope we were interested in, months.
Well, I think I just stated, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we have to do the most in-depth analysis on this building because we don't know how bad it is, so we have to do soup to nuts here, I would imagine.
Months. So I would say 3 to 4 months probably for the report itself. And then, the time to find the people to do the report, to get them under contract in addition to that.
And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but would you have a ballpark on how much this would cost the city?
I don't, honestly, no. 10,000 seems very low.
Very low, right.
And if we're going to do an analysis that includes looking at the building, helping us prioritize what we'd want to fix and identifying that kind of stuff, more than 10,000.
I also share the concerns of Councilor Getchier. And I think it'd be great to put 40 to 60 units of apartments there. That'd be great. I'm just not walking from Market Street Garage to get to my house. On bike or trolley, whatever. Councilor Getchier is right. People are not going to do it. I know Mr. McCarthy and I have had this discussion before, that people will use bicycles. I just don't see it. And right now, with Councilor Robinson saying, we have, how long is this going to take? Ms. Baez just said we're looking at 3 to 4 months easy. Then let's say it is structurally sound, and we have how much more time before we're doing all this construction, and what could happen? We're going to shut down. I'm just not seeing it. It does not add up to me right now. I'm not against it. Let's do it. Let's do the structural analysis and see how much it costs, and everybody's happy after that, and we'll see what will happen. But I think the city's taking quite a risk by putting in $100,000 to $200,000 on analysis.
So what I got here is a motion to have the appropriate department provide a structural engineer report. Councilor Getchier, you mentioned something about a report back first on costs and going forward. Is that a motion that you're making?
Mr. Mayor, just a quick question to the CFO or to the manager. Procurement-wise, engineering is exempt from it, right?
Yes. Engineering services would be exempt.
So you could speed that up that way to get this report to us because it's exempt. So it's just basically, okay, who does this type of work? Go over to DPD, and could. How long would it take you to find somebody to give you an estimate on something like that?
We work with a number of firms that we could call like tomorrow and get them, ask them how much it would cost and how long it would take. It's just, even after we solicit quotes, it's still having to get them to actually write a full proposal to us, being very clear about what we want in that proposal, and then getting them still under contract. So it absolutely shortens it. My 3 to 4 month timeline actually was assuming a direct procurement and not actually bidding it.
Right. So my question to you would be, could you have us some type of estimate by next Tuesday?
I actually just got, DPD has in the past gotten very lucky and had companies throw numbers at us for free without any effort. And just this week, I was asked to pay to get a cost estimate done. And so I don't know if I can do that. Maybe, but I wouldn't I wouldn't hang my hat on what they said for price by next Tuesday.
So do they, no, it's in the ballpark,
Yeah.
obviously. It wouldn't be a hard number, but the question just comes down, I mean, it obviously would have a small range between the costs, but the question would come down to is, they want you to pay them to give you an estimate? Is that what you just said to me?
I did just have that happen, yes.
What world
I
are
said
we
no,
living
thank
in?
you.
What world are we living in? I've never heard of that in my lifetime. I'm going to pay you to estimate something, but what was, if you could share, what was that cost?
It was design engineering stuff, but it's just, the firms are very busy. They don't really need the work. And so they're not, being very selective about what they're choosing.
So just for a cost estimate, we could be out a month, depending on how much it costs us just to get the estimate. Wow, that 10 grand just got shrunk down really quick because now it's like, okay, I got to pay you to get, okay. It would be in the form of a motion, but Mr. Manager, where are you in the process of that we talked about prior to tonight? That's all.
Great. Before you get that, Mr. Manager, I got Council Scott and Council Noon, but keep that back of your head. Go ahead, Council Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just definitely share my colleagues' concerns about the lack of developers, et cetera, that have been interested in the property. But I do go back to, I think, it's a piece of history. We can't go backwards. Once the building's gone, we can't bring it back. So I think we do need to take the time to do our due diligence in this. Again, historic structures are part of, everything about Lowell, and it's really important to most of us in the city, and I just ask that we allow that time to let the process happen. Thank you.
Council Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you can see, the struggle within this body in terms of, what to do with it. No one enjoy taking down historical building. We had a missed opportunity many years ago. We should have redeveloped it when we didn't. Yes, this building can turn into a number of things: performing arts center, cultural center, and housing. Of course, we just talked about on Councilor Robinson motion, tonight, housing, and a great opportunity now to do a multi-story housing in this location. Should there's developers coming next week, maybe next month, based on what we discussed a couple of meetings ago on this particular issue, those two options. I would think that by now the assistant city managers by Roses has already put out those RIP to local and statewide developers that want to develop this. I also recognize as well that the amount of $10,000, $20,000, we're probably going to do a visual inspection. And that's not enough. Need to be more in-depth, as Councilor Goodyear stated. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Assistant City Managers, Ms. Byroses, say if we were to do a structural assessment of the structures of the roof, the floor, the wall, all those combined, can maybe from tonight you can get a quote from the firm to see how much it costs and how long it takes, as Councilor Dakota asked, in terms of for that study. I would envision that it's got to be a lot more than $20,000 or $30,000. And we want to do more because what it is that after this report will enabling or maybe encourage developers who want to develop housing, right? Say, okay, we know what's going on in this building. This is how much we can do in terms of spend the money to to do this. Without it, it's kind of difficult for any developer to come in and say, I'm going to put my money in this and not knowing what's to happen.
So we got a motion on the floor by Councilor Getchia to get a report about cost and time frame.
That's right.
You second that, Councilor Noon?
I would second that. Yeah.
All right. Any other comments? Councilor Leahy, then Councilor Chow.
Thank you. Just quickly, appreciate the speakers coming down tonight, and just to give it a last-minute effort, full court press, just to see what we can do for a engineering aspect of it. It could be so much too. Maybe we could partner up with ULAS Lowell. It could be professional housing for their staff. I believe they do that down the street on that building that they took over. Perkins, that could be housing. We could move them over here to downtown. It could be so many different things, but I appreciate this big effort to see what we can do, and before we even think about knocking it down. Thank you.
Councilor Chow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I want to also thank the various and the unique individuals of the McCarthy family coming to speak tonight. And having going last, I got the benefits of listening to all the councilors, all my colleagues speaking, and obviously we're all concerned about preserving the importance of history, of culture, at the same time as safety of everyone of the public. I will support, the motion that's on the agenda and the motion that's on the floor. I think when you're trying to move the city forward and make a big decision like this could really change the face of the neighborhood, change the face of the city, the look and feel of the city, being historical and cultural. We have waited about 20 years already, and 1 more month, 2 more months to get the complete report. So that way, as Councilor Scott mentioned, we just do our due diligence and to make a decisions. So our conscience will be clear which direction we're going to go. If we have the structural engineering report, I think we all can make an informed decision on what to do next. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Manager, you get that? Okay. Councilor Robinson?
Thank you. I just have a quick question. If we are going to move to pursue this, if this comes back and it's the wish, in the meantime, is there a way that at the very least, we can secure through netting or whatever need be, whatever's falling, the slate off the roof or whatever, is there a way, a temporary securing, so that way it will prevent any kind of possibility of somebody on the sidewalk being, injured? Thank you.
Put that in the report, please. Okay, all in favor, say.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Does it get you?
Is there if you could also add to that, just if there's any other funding sources that could be used that are grants currently that we actually have the funding for to offset the engineering, if you could just include that in there. There has to be some money somewhere that could be put towards this out of a grant fund that we already have. So if you could just include that, that's all. Thank you.
Kidding me. Councilor Yam?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to request a roll call on the motion to have the city provide this council with a structural engineer report on Smith Baker Center tonight, Mr. Mayor.
So, sure. What's the clerk, roll call?
Councilor Dakota.
Just for clarification,
The motion on the floor, Councilor Young, was to have a report come back to us, time frame, costs, et cetera, great opportunities, safety measures, all that stuff. Very in-depth.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's what you want to roll call on?
Right.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Councilor Dakota.
yes.
Councilor Getchia.
Yes.
Councilor Janess.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Noon.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Rourke.
Yes.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Yem.
Yes.
Councilor Chow.
Yes.
11 yeas.
Mr. McCarthy, I blame you for the past 45 minutes. Okay? All right. Thank you very much for coming down. Go back to section 4 of the agenda. Utility public hearing 4.1 National Grid. Request installation of underground conduit from pole 37 to feed new transformer onto property at 735 Broadway Street. Just want to open and continue. I was going to open the meeting now, but we're going to need a motion to extend it, continue to next week, March 26th, by Councilor Janess, seconded by Councilor Mercia. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? It passes. Communications from the city manager. 6.1, motion responses. A, repair guardrail, Mammoth and East Bennett Road. That's by me. The resident that asked me to file it, Mr. Manager, was very happy with the report. Look forward to getting that project completed. Anything else? B, motion response, sidewalk assessment. Councilor Gitcha.
Thank you, Mayor Rourke. Through you to Manager Golden, thank you for the report and outlining this. I just think that, is there a way that we can clarify it a little bit better? And we've had this discussion about good, fair, poor, and highlighting on the website the point where you actually can read the street where it stands, whether it's in fair, poor, or this condition or that condition. And it's hard for most people to understand, and I know it's written here in definitions of what fair, poor, and good are for the city, but it's really hard to understand for the average person. And when you look at the road surface ratings, and it goes 90 to 100, and then you have 80 to 90. If we could try to break it down into a rating like that, so that they could understand, like when you look at the road surface repair one, 90 to 100 means no maintenance required. Here it just says good condition, and it says sidewalks, good condition, display minor surface blemishes. So, and when you look at the fair, it also says sidewalks considered in fair condition display some physical distress greater than 10% to 50%. There's a major difference between 10% and 50%. So if there's a way that we can outline them so that we could have a better rating system, I do think this is a great start. But I think as we start looking forward, and you're looking at the whole outline so people can click on and see, okay, what is done, where are we, where does my street align? Because it could be 500 streets that are in fair condition. Now, what separates those 500 streets, saying, okay, is if we're paving in that area, obviously you want to do the sidewalk at the same time as you're paving, as you outlined in the next motion. So I think it's a good report. I think it's a great start, and I just wish that if we could maybe put it online and maybe add pictures that say what's good, fair, and poor to begin with, but then also highlight like an Excel sheet that just puts in what streets are fair, good, poor, and because when you look at it, we have a lot of work to do. When you look at the fair and poor equal 57.6% of the total sidewalks in the city. And the good ones are only 42.4. So when we talk walkability, I think and it's a good report to start with. And I do thank you, the engineer, and your staff for the hard work that they're putting into this, because it will give the residents a equal playing field in looking, saying, okay, the street's being done, our sidewalks are being done. So thank you again.
Leads us into motion response C, road surface rating and 2023 list paving projects. Councilor Gitcha.
I have a question on the previous one.
Shoot.
When you get, okay, thank you. Through you to the manager, thank you for the report. It's a good start, as Councilor Gitchia said. If you could just get back to us, how much sidewalk are we going to do this coming year? If we can get back to that. And then also, if it's asphalt now, does it have to be cement, or can asphalt be replaced with asphalt again, just to make some sections safe and, walkable again? So, and you don't have to answer now, but just, those are the questions we want to get back to our constituents with. Thank you.
Just one, the next one. Next one. Okay. Back to C, motion response, road surface rating, 2023 list paving projects. Councilor Gitcha.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. I think this one's an important piece also when you look at it, and I want to thank the manager and the city engineer and the DPW commissioner for their hard work on this. I would just ask that as we go forward, and you highlighted all of the streets that were crack sealed and all the streets that had routine maintenance and preventative maintenance stuff done, if we can do like we do with the auditor, So the auditor, when she has a munis report, she has a tab down there for it. And this one could be like FY24 crack sealing. And you could just click on it and it would show you the streets that were done during FY24. And you could do the same with fog sealing, and you could do the same with reclamation. So you could actually see the progress that the city's doing at any time you want, because it will show you without having to pull these reports and try to dive into everything. I think the auditor outlining those munis reports on there has highlighted a lot of things that we don't have to track. And when people call us, we can say, you just go on the engineering website, and down there's this tab, click on it. Those were the ones that are fog sealed and where your street would align. It would just make a major difference, I think. And if there's anything you want to add, Mr. Manager, I think it's a great process.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the council. Council, historical, just a historical piece as to what we have been doing and what has been done, correct? I just want to make sure I got that right.
Yeah, just like you outlined here, like you did all of FY 23 stuff that got done last year, and just basically make a tab that will just reference right to these and show each year, so then people can gauge, okay, well, this year we did, what did it say, 19.1?
Right, similar to an Excel tab that you have at the
Exactly.
bottom.
Yeah, just like the munis one. And
Ms.
you
Chang
just click
knows,
over.
yeah, she knows that. We got that? Okay.
I just want to also mention that we are in the process of updating our website as well. Some of these items are on the websites already, like crack seal and fog seal. There's a tab there, say 2022, that's completed. So if you click there, it's all listed by years. But it's a work in progress right now. We have not completed yet, but that is in the work right now.
Yeah, because this should be something you already have, so if we just clean it over so that everyone can see it as it goes on, then we won't get the phone calls, and we can see exactly what is working for the city, because we could just go back and say, okay, this street isn't in deplorable condition, and we only spent this much money, and it would be easier for us to research.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor Robinson?
Thank you. First, I'd like to say thank you. When I first started on this council, I know it was tough to get these kind of reports back and get everything kind of organized and spelled out. And second, I'd like to thank the administration. As you've mentioned multiple times, I mean, this report is showing further proof of the commitment that we've made towards improving our roadways, improving our sidewalks. So, I mean, one thing I did see a lot of other communities do, and I think it's very helpful, is even a simple map, just showing. So they'll show, you could even break it down by district, and it doesn't have to be a detailed map, but it will show with different colors, highlighted streets that the work has been done. And even those visuals, a lot of people don't want to dig in and read all of the data and everything that goes along with it. But if someone can just look and say, hey, this is my street, and this section of my street is slated to be done next year or this year, or wow, I didn't realize they did this many streets. I find that very helpful, and I mean, I've seen it shared, simple maps that kind of outline all of the work that's been done in communities on like something like LinkedIn that's not famous for, you know, graphics and all that for the most part, but even town administrators will put that out there, just a simple map, and the residents appreciate that, because people can actually get a visual aspect of what work has been done, what work is slated for this FY. Thank you.
Madam Engineer?
Yes, Councilor Robinson. Actually, we do have that, like, for example, 2023's roadway project, like you just mentioned. The map actually is on our website. We've been slowly and progressively working on our website, try to update everything, so, but they are on it. On the report itself, I put out some link on the report that show you can just click on it, and we'll show the map, show the RSR, show the construction list, and all those things on our website.
Thank you very much.
Councilor Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have one question around the link that's on the site that says for 2020 and 2021 road surface rating map. How often is that updated, that map? I'm just curious, because there are a few streets that stood out to me that are in extremely poor condition, and a couple of them are coded green on the map. So I was just curious how often that's updated.
The RSOS map was last updated was in 2020 and 2021. We are in the process of getting a proposal and updating it this year's. Typically, they recommend, MassDOT recommended update every 3 years.
Okay, so roads that have changed in condition, I mean, aren't updated manually or anything? I mean, this is like that point in time that it stays that way and that's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll keep track of which one we pave and stuff like that. But at the end of the year, we will have updated map showing that the work been done for the last 3 years. And then the other street will reflect where the RSRs are as well. So we'll use that as a gauge of what the next paving is and pick from there as well.
Okay. I'm just surprised how some of the roads could have degraded that much in the course of, being considered in good condition and now in such poor condition. Like Meadowcroft Street, I mean, it's just completely broken down, but it's rated green on the map.
Meadowcroft Street is an issue with sewer. We are in the process of working with wastewater department that we notice there's continue to have sinkholes, and we keep digging into it, and there is surface connections that is broken right now. So we're working with wastewater, say cameras it, and work with the homeowners, try to get these fixed before we can do something with the roadway.
Okay, thank you.
Motion response D, animal control, Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. This is pretty much what I was looking for. I think one issue that we might be having, based on the calls and the multiple calls I've received in the past year, is, it looks like we have, and I'd like to thank the chief and everyone involved in this report. It looks like we have policy in place. It looks like we have a action plan as far as staffing up and providing coverage. It looks like we have policies that cover the timeframes where our internal employees might not be available to answer the call. So there are all of these things in place. I think something we're not doing then, based on the calls I've received, is communicating these policies to all of our employees, because like I said, we heard a speaker last week. Past 2 p.m., they call the non-emergency line and they're told, oh, the city doesn't have animal control on right now, so sorry, we can't do it. So I don't know if it's a communication error, but based on this report, it seems like we should have some significant coverage. And I think this is something that we kind of have to prioritize, because, with the warmer weather coming, you're going to probably get a lot more calls for dogs roaming, stray dogs. I've been told by people up by Beacon Street that walk the reservoir with earbuds in, and they've looked down and 2 stray dogs are sniffing their gloves. Luckily they weren't. But those are the kind of things that, when someone calls, and we already have policy in place, I don't know if it's a matter of enforcement, I don't know if it's a matter of animal control answering the call, but it seems like there's a break or disconnect between what our policies are and what's happening in actuality. And then I appreciate that there is a plan to increase staffing based on the data that they've researched and see what volume of calls, when they come in, timeframes and all that. So, if I could hear from the chief though, has this been, because I see, a lot of this was written by a previous superintendent, which I think it's still solid if our current chief likes this policy that's here. Has this been communicated to everyone from our civilians working in the department to our patrol? Because I don't think all of these policies are actually being acted on or carried out.
Good. Councilor Scott first, and then the superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a few questions about this as well. Just a little math that I did. According to the report, it said over a 2-year time period, it was 730 days. There were 2,923 calls, which equals out to 4 calls per day. And I know it doesn't always work out like that. That's not, an exact number or anything. So for me, I'm kind of wondering whether or not we really just have an issue with coverage, which is what this report says, the hours. I know that Tewksbury and Billerica have combined forces together. They have 2 full-time animal officers and 1 part-time. And I'm just wondering if this is something, as far as a coverage issue, that we may want to look at some type of regional collaboration around animal control, because it's just such a specialized area. And I'm just, it's just a suggestion, I guess, maybe for us to look at and see if that's a possibility. Thank you.
Superintendent?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilors, Mr. Manager, we did take a look at this. We've reviewed the policy, and I would wholeheartedly agree with Council Robinson's assessment. I listened to these calls personally this week, and we had some internal conversations. This is a messaging problem on our part, and we take responsibility for that. We had a conversation with our communications manager. We will always respond. The first thing I don't want people to hear is, sorry, animal control is not working. We will respond. We will have an officer respond. We will make that determination with the people, listen to what the complaint is, and we will make the determination if animal control needs to come in or tell the people how to handle the call appropriately. So that is a message error on our part, and we are working to correct that. As far as the staffing level, couldn't agree more, Counselor. I appreciate the comments. We did reach out to HR on Monday to post a second position, which would cover our have an animal control officer, which would cover our 3 to 11 shift. And as you can see by the time of day and the breakdown, that would cover a lot of our calls for service during those times. Then having 2 animal control officers would allow us to also cover and break up some of the on-call and overtime issues that we're also seeing. So it is a little bit of a management issue, which we are also working on.
Councilor Getchia?
Thank you, Mayor Rourke. Through you to the chief. Chief, what is, I didn't read it in your policy, so say a call comes in and a person's on call, what is the expected time that they get in and show up to the call?
It varies. If it's an emergent situation and an officer is on scene and they're calling, lately I've been seeing the animal control respond within 30 minutes.
So what is, in most on-calls, like when you were at the water department, you got an on-call. If you came in within a certain time, you got an extra percentage or whatever. It wasn't at this one, but there has to be a defined time for somebody. So if I get in touch with you and say, Chief calls me, I get the call, I answer the phone, what is the time frame from the person answering the phone to getting to the scene? And I know it depends, but it can be under a certain number, but what is the time frame you expect, or it should be written in here, within 1 hour of receiving the call, someone should be there. I think the policy just needs to be updated with that expectation put in it so that people understand that there is an expectation. So if I'm doing something else and I get a call and I say, yeah, I'll get to them when I get to them, and there's an hour and a half later they get there, then that's not really a response to a after-hours call, because I assume when someone's being called after hours, it's an emergency call. So they should be readily going to it as an emergency. And I'm sure that's your expectation too, or you wouldn't call them.
My expectation would be that an officer would be dispatched and be there within minutes of that call.
Right.
To have animal control supplement the patrol
Exactly.
force would be an additional response, and that could vary. Again, with one animal control officer right now, it's a burden.
I think we should really revisit that and put a time, because I don't want to hold an officer out in the road when I need them in the sector when I'm down officers. So I think there should be a defined time for somebody when they answer a call. Okay, here's the time frame from the call to the spot. Obviously there's outside expectations, but they have that in most water departments have that, because water main breaks cause a lot of damage. So they have, okay, you have to live within a certain time frame from the place you're actually working, and you actually have a response time to get there, because it's an immediate need. It may be something to look at when you're addressing going over this stuff, but I agree with Councilor Robinson that, reviewing it, but when we review it, we should also have written in here the dates that we did our review. We don't just say, okay, we'll review it as needed. It should be dated as it was reviewed on this date and updated, so that it's actually a piece of.
We do that with many of our other policies.
Yeah.
This particular policy, when we go for reaccreditation, will also be updated as part of that entire reaccreditation process, which is every 3 years.
Thank you.
6.2, official reports.
Mayor Rourke, could I make a motion to suspend the rules?
Sure.
Second.
Through you to Ms. Baez.
Is there a reason?
My iPhone went off a couple of days ago.
Suspend the rules for what?
Concerning the Lapoli project and the report that we're supposed to get at the end of February.
By Council Dakota, second by Council Getchia. All those in favor say aye. Passes.
And I'm wondering where we're at with Mr. Lapoli and the inactivity that is gone now for over 9 months.
Rose?
We met with Lowell companies and told them to prepare to be invited in for an economic development subcommittee. So we're waiting for that to be scheduled.
And who is on that subcommittee? When did you speak with Mr. Lapoli on this? Because I'm sure Mr. Janess, Councilor Janess would have set up a meeting by now.
Thought I did email you.
I don't know if I was supposed to put a motion forward or not, but if you want to make a motion to have.
Want to make a motion to schedule a subcommittee?
I think that would the way to go,
By
just so
Council
we can get an
Dakota,
update.
Second by Council Janess. All those in favor say aye.
Thank you, Council.
Yep.
No.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
6.2, informational reports. Mr. Manager, UMass Lowell Innovation Network Corridor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Through to the council. I think it's a similar situation, Councilor Dakota, with the Lowell companies. We had moved forward on UMass Lowell Chancellor asking to come in to the Eco Dev Subcommittee to start discussing what is happening over at Link or the Lowell Innovation Network Corridor. So I think one of those communication pieces. But when I did speak to Chancellor Chen, she had is looking for the guidance of me to see if the council would be willing to host the university at an Eco Dev Subcommittee to have a further discussion on what's happening in Link, and that's why this is the way it is.
Council Janess.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just make a motion to refer this to the Eco Dev Subcommittee, and we can schedule a meeting for both items.
Second by Councilor Getchia. All those in favor say aye. Motion passes. 6, next information report, community choice aggregation. Mr. Clerk.
Yes. Sarah Lapp.
Hello, my name is Sarah Lapp, 200 Market Street, number 416 in Lowell, and I'll be very brief because it's getting late. We would just like to express our support and applaud the city for its efforts in clean energy and renewable energy, and specifically, we'd also like to applaud the Sustainability Division under Catherine Moses for her efforts in this arena. We urge the council to consider her recommendations regarding the continuation of the community choice aggregation plan. It gives the city of Lowell and the residents and the consumers of Lowell the option to purchase renewable energy and to have a certain amount of price stability in that respect. And it puts the city in a good position to, move towards 100% renewable energy by 2035, as was passed by the City Council in a 2017 resolution. So again, thank you all for your efforts, and we do really consider sustainability to be very important to the city and to its residents, and we urge adoption of the report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michaela Hondros McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, again, and to the rest of the City Council. My name is Michaela Hondros McCarthy, 618 Stevens Street. I promise it's just me this time from my family. I wanted to speak as a member of the Lowell Sustainability Council in support of Lowell's aggregation program. It's something we've been advocating for a while now, and it's been a point of major leadership by the city in the state of Massachusetts. I commend Catherine Moses and the Sustainability Department for their work to get the best deal for residents in the city, all while adding additional demand for renewable energy. Lowell's aggregation program recently helped shield many residents from the volatility of basic service rates and the winter price spikes in November 2022, where the Lowell aggregation rate was under half the basic service rate of 33 cents per kilowatt hour. And this was all while adding 40% additional renewable content above the state mandates. The aggregation contract also provides price stability with a fixed price over the life of the contract as opposed to basic service, whose rates change every 6 months. So we encourage what Catherine Moses and the Sustainability Division recommend for the contract renewal. Lastly, the aggregation programs give consumers another choice and in many cases helps protect them against predatory competitive retail suppliers who go door to door and rip off customers so it helps shield customers because it helps keep them informed of their options. This is particularly relevant to Lowell since according to a report by the Attorney General's office, these suppliers are known to target the elderly, low income, and people whose first language isn't English. Thank you.
Excellent. I need a motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Robinson, second by Councilor Gitche. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Both reports.
Mr. Mayor? I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation that's in the report.
Yeah, that was my question earlier, Councilor. Is this a vote down the line, Mr. Manager, or what are we doing with it? Just accept it?
It's accepted. I'm going to have Ms. Moses come up. She's done a fabulous, sorry, Mr. Mayor, through you to the council. I'd like to have Ms. Moses come up to speak to that, if that's possible.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, City Council. Thank you, Mr. Manager, and thank you, advocates in our community. This isn't something that requires a formal vote, but historically, over the last several aggregation contracts, we've wanted to have the City Council and members of the public to weigh in on our recommendations. Like I said in the report, there's an opportunity here in the pricing to give additional price stability to Lowell residents. There have also been some changes in the legislature and in the Department of Public Utilities that might allow us finally, after 4 years of waiting on an order, flexibility to allow people to have additional choices to really help move us forward as a Commonwealth. Your endorsement of this would be very much appreciated because that can allow us to go ahead and get some executable pricing so that we can get that long-term stability we're looking for in our aggregation.
Motion by Councilor Janess to endorse the report. Second by Councilor Noon. Mr. Clerk, we'll do a roll call.
Council Dakota.
Yes.
Council Gitchia.
Yes.
Council Janess.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Council Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Rook.
Yes.
Council Scott.
Yes.
Council Yem.
Yes.
Council Chow.
Yes.
11 yeas.
Thank you. 6.3, communication, resignation of Nancy Goss from Hunger and Homeless Commission. The motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Noon, second by Councilor Robinson. All in favor say aye. Opposed? 6.4, communication, appointment of Allison Dolan Wilson to the CPC.
Move to approve.
Yep. Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Noon, second by Councilor Yem. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion to place on file. Section 7, votes on the city manager,
Mayor.
7.1.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
could we bundle,
We got to do, some point when we have to do on its own.
yeah, if they want to speak on it, go
At
ahead.
some point when we'll do on its own, then we'll bundle the rest. Is that
Okay, it's fine,
Yeah.
it's fine.
7.1, get a vote to transfer $2,025,000 salary and wage with the full reading and second reading by title.
Mr. Mayor, I like to recuse myself from voting on this motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to abstain from the vote. Thank you.
Councilor Gitche.
I would like to also.
Vote to transfer funds from the manager's salary reserve account to various departments' salaries and wages accounts. Need a motion to adopt by Councilor Robinson, second by Councilor Noon. Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Council Dakota.
Yes.
Council Gitchia. Council Janess.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercia. Council Noon.
Yes.
Council Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Rourke.
Yes.
Council Scott.
Yes.
Council Yem. Council Chow.
Yes.
8 yeas.
Councilor Gitche.
Mr. Mayor, could we bundle 7.2 to 7.6, please?
Motion by Councilor Gitche, second by Councilor Noon, to bundle 7.2 to 7.6. 7.2, vote to accept and expend $2,493.75 OGR grant for fire. 7.3, accept and expend $2,000 Mass DEP RDP grant. 7.4, authorize city manager to execute agreement with Hong and Kong Market Incorporated. 7.5, authorize city manager to execute agreement with Select Energy Development LLC. 7.6, transfer $6,000 to building inspector education materials. No need to read the second reading. A motion to accept by Councilor Janess, seconded by Councilor Chow. Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Council Dakota.
Yes.
Council Getchia.
Yes.
Council Janess.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Council Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Rourke.
Yes.
Council Scott.
Yes.
Council Yem.
Yes.
Council Chow.
Yes.
11 years.
Section 8, Reports Subcommittee. 8.1, Rules and Election Law Subcommittee, March 19th, 2024. Councilor Chow.
This passes, okay. Gonna do next week.
Oh, you got it. All right. Section 9, Petitions. 9.1, Claim 1 Property Damage. Motion to refer to Law Department for report recommendation by Councilor Getchia, second by Councilor Dakota. All those in favor say aye. Motion passes. Section 10, Announcements. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last week were two events, and I would like to briefly report on. The first was sponsored by members of the Lowell Fire Department, as well as some of their retirees. It was called Where Angels Play, and it was to raise money to help in building a playground in Duxbury for 3 young children who succumbed tragically. The firefighters' goal was to raise $10,000, and as of today, they raised $12,500, and the money is still coming in. So thank you to everyone that came and gave so generously. And secondly was the Irish breakfast sponsored by State Representative Rodney Elliott, and it was a success. So to everyone who gave so generously or who added to the success of the day, thank you so much. You are keeping a great organization open to help those in their need of recovery and so much more. Thank you very much.
Mr. Manager. Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. 3 to the council. Councilors, just so you're aware, there was an issue with the Treasurer's Office that we had over 70,000 bills going out on excise tax, and there was a problem with the transfer. So the bills went out correctly. They were mailed correctly, but there are approximately 7,000 records that at this time today, as we speak, cannot be paid online. So we are dealing with that. We've received a few phone calls on that. That issue is being corrected by the vendor. I will say that I actually paid mine online. It's very simple and very easy. But we had 7,000 records, and I want to say thank you very much to the people that called our office, because quite frankly, we didn't know that was an issue. So once they drilled down to it, they found out it was a transfer issue of information between the city and the vendor. So that should be taken care of within the next few days.
Thank you. Councilor Leahy.
Through you to the manager. The speed limit signs, where can people call to get them if they want to put them up in their yard?
Mr. Roches.
So those signs are going to be available here at City Hall, at the Senior Center, and also over at the library for free to residents.
People can get a few of them if they want to
Yes.
display them, get them out. Okay, thank you.
Councilor Yem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On behalf of the entire City Council and the City Administration, we would like to wish a belated birthday for our one and only Councilor Wayne Janess. Everywhere we go, this Saturday, everywhere we go, all the establishment in Lowell celebrate Councilor Janess, and I say, wow, how do you do that? Thank you.
Happy birthday, Councilor. Motion
Thank
to
you.
adjourn by Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Getchia. Good night.